welcome to Forgotten History Daily. I am William, and tonight we journey into one of history's most fascinating and darkest stories. A tale so extraordinary, it challenges our understanding of the very fabric of power and authority in America. And yet, this enigmatic figure has been all but erased from our collective memory. Why have we forgotten Emperor Norton I, the self-proclaimed ruler of San Francisco in the mid-19th century? As we delve into the life of Joshua Abraham Norton, we find ourselves face to face with a man who would become an icon of American eccentricity and a testament to the power of sheer will. Born in 1819, Norton was a British-born entrepreneur who made his fortune in trade. But it wasn't until 1859 that he unveiled his most audacious plan yet, declaring himself emperor of these. Imagine it, a man with no claim to the throne, no royal bloodline, no military might, but a vision to reshape America's destiny. On September 17, 1859, Norton issued a decree from his San Francisco home, announcing his ascension to the imperial throne and declaring himself Emperor of the United States. And the news sent shockwaves through with some hailing him as a visionary and others dismissing him as mad. But here's the thing, for over 20 years, Norton held court in San Francisco, issuing decrees, hosting state dinners, and even minting his own currency, all under the guise of imperial authority. His was a realm that existed outside the boundaries of constitutional law, yet within the hearts of those who revered him. It's as if he tapped into an untapped vein of American exceptionalism, one that saw itself as separate from the rest of the world. Now, I know what you're thinking. Could such a figure exist in modern America? Today, we live in a time where social media influencers hold court and fake news spreads like wildfire. Could it be argued that Emperor Norton's reign serves as a warning about the dangers of unchecked power and the blurring of reality with fantasy? We'll explore these questions and more as we examine the extraordinary life and times of Emperor Norton I, an enigmatic figure who continues to fascinate and perplex us to this very day. As we delve deeper into the world of Emperor Norton, it becomes clear that his rise to power was as much a product of circumstance as it was of his own grandiose ambitions. San Francisco in the late 1850s was a city on the brink of transformation. The California gold rush had brought an influx of fortune seekers and adventurers to the West Coast, transforming what was once a sleepy town into a bustling metropolis. Norton, with his background in trade and commerce, saw an opportunity to establish himself as a leader among this ragtag group of settlers. Norton's own story is shrouded in mystery, but it's known that he arrived in San Francisco from New York City in the mid-1850s. He brought with him a reputation for being a cunning businessman and a smooth talker, skills that served him well as he navigated the complex web of relationships between merchants, politicians, and other influential figures. At first, Norton's imperial decrees were met with skepticism, if not outright ridicule. Local newspapers mocked his claims to the throne, while city officials dismissed him as a crank or a charlatan. But Norton refused to be deterred. He continued to issue decrees, often on elaborate paper with his royal seal emblazoned on top. These decrees covered a wide range of topics, from taxation and public works to military policy and foreign relations. One notable example is the Norton Order, which established a new system of currency in San Francisco. Norton declared that all debts would be paid in gold coinage, effectively bypassing the traditional banking system. The order also decreed that merchants who refused to accept this new currency would face penalties, including fines and imprisonment. Despite the initial resistance, Norton's orders began to gain traction among some segments of the population. Small business owners and tradespeople saw him as a champion of their interests, someone who was willing to challenge the status quo and assert his own authority. Even some members of San Francisco's elite began to see Norton as a useful ally, or even a potential partner in power. As Emperor Norton's influence grew, so did his physical presence on the city streets. He began to don elaborate uniforms and headdresses, complete with feathers, ribbons, and other trappings of imperial regalia. His carriage, emblazoned with his royal crest, became a familiar sight in the cities. One of Norton's most enduring creations was the Norton Railway, a short-lived but influential enterprise that operated between San Francisco and nearby Oakland. The railway was touted as a symbol of Norton's vision for a unified California, where the imperial throne would serve as the central authority guiding economic development and infrastructure projects. But behind the grandeur and spectacle lay a complex web of relationships and alliances. Norton formed close friendships with influential San Francisco, including merchants, lawyers, and politicians, who saw in him a useful tool for advancing their own interests. He also attracted a coterie of devoted followers, some of whom became so enamored with his imperial persona that they began to see themselves as part of an inner circle. In the midst of this intrigue, Emperor Norton continued to weave his intricate tapestry of power and influence. His was a world where fantasy and reality blurred, where the boundaries between public figure and private individual grew increasingly tenuous. As we explore the full extent of his reign, it becomes clear that Norton's impact on San Francisco went far beyond his own eccentric ambitions. He helped shape the city's identity as a place of innovation, experimentation, and self-reinvention, qualities that would come to define the modern American experience. In our next segment, we'll delve deeper into the ways in which Emperor Norton's legacy continues to captivate us today. From literature and arts to politics and social movements, his enigmatic figure has inspired countless interpretations and reinterpretations over the years. What secrets do his decrees hold? How did he manage to balance imperial grandeur with everyday San Francisco realities? And what lessons can we draw from his remarkable story about power, identity, and the complexities of human ambition? In the late 19th century, San Francisco was a city in rapid transformation. The California Gold Rush of '49 brought an influx of prospectors, entrepreneurs, and adventurers to the West Coast, transforming what was once a small outpost into a vibrant metropolis. By the time Emperor Norton I declared himself ruler of this burgeoning city, in 1859, San Francisco was already a place of contrasts, where grand mansions stood alongside shantytowns, and modern. As we walk through the city's streets today, it's easy to forget that for much of its history, San Francisco was a place of makeshift homes, built from wooden shacks and improvised materials. But for Norton, who claimed the throne on January 8, 1859, this was not just a practical reality, but an opportunity to create something new, a city that reflected his own grandiose vision. We find ourselves in the midst of a city that's very much in its adolescence. The scent of freshly cut wood and the sounds of hammering on metal fill the air as San Francisco's skyline is rapidly changing. Skyscrapers are sprouting up, and the first electric streetlights have been installed. But the city remains rough around the edges. It was an era when California was still a young state, carving out its identity in the face of regionalism and sectionalism that plagued the nation as a whole. The West Coast was seen as a place of possibility, where fortunes could be made and lost overnight, where social norms were flexible and individual freedom reigned supreme. For many Americans today, who think of California as the land of dreams, the notion of Emperor Norton may seem anachronistic, a relic of another era. But for those living in San Francisco at the time, his declaration was not just a quirk or a curiosity. It was a serious attempt to seize power and shape the city's destiny. As we explore this extraordinary city, let's try to put ourselves in the shoes of the people who lived through it. What did daily life look like for the ordinary citizens of San Francisco's time? How did Norton's presence impact their lives? And what did they make of his outlandish decrees? Imagine walking through the bustling streets of San Francisco. The year is 1860, and the Civil War rages on in the East. The city's wharves are alive with activity, as ships from all over the world dock to load cargo bound for Asia and Europe. Meanwhile, in the nearby hills, the first telegraph lines are being laid down, connecting San Francisco to the rest of the world. In this vibrant, chaotic landscape, Norton's decrees begin to take shape. His orders often addressed specific aspects of urban life, from street lighting to sanitation, from market regulation to public transportation. He would declare that certain streets were to be closed for repairs, or that a new public square was to be built in honor of some mythical hero. To those who lived through it, Norton's edicts must have seemed like an intriguing mixture of fantasy and practicality. Were his decrees genuine attempts at reform, or mere publicity stunts designed to cement his reputation as a ruler? The answer, much like the man himself, remains shrouded in mystery. Despite the confusion surrounding his intentions, Norton's influence on San Francisco was undeniable. His orders often resonated with the city's working class, who saw him as a champion of their interests and a critic of the established power structures that dominated the city's politics and economy. In many ways, Norton embodied the spirit of California itself, a place where anything seemed possible, where grand visions and schemes were par for the course. His antics may have been eccentric, but they reflected the very essence of San Francisco as it grew into its role as a cosmopolitan hub of trade, finance, and innovation. As we delve deeper into the story of Emperor Norton I, let's examine some of the ways in which his legacy continues to captivate us today. From literature and art to politics and social movements, his enigmatic figure has inspired countless interpretations and reinterpretations over the years. Consider the likes of Charles Dickens and Mark Twain, writers who drew upon their experiences in San Francisco to create enduring portraits of American life. Their works often explored themes of social change, innovation, and the complexities of human ambition, which echoed the very preoccupations that drove Norton's own ambitions. The influence of Emperor Norton can also be seen in modern-day movements for self-organization and grassroots empowerment, where ordinary citizens take on roles that once belonged to traditional leaders. From community gardens to independent media outlets, these initiatives reflect a similar impulse towards creative problem-solving and self-reinvention that characterized Norton's vision for San Francisco. In our next segment, we'll explore some of the more surprising ways in which Emperor Norton I's legacy has endured, from his influence on artistic movements like Surrealism to his role as an inspiration for progressive politics. We'll examine how his story speaks to broader themes of power, identity, and the human desire for meaning. But for now, let us return to the city itself, with its teeming streets, its bustling markets, and its dreams of grandeur. Here, in this vibrant, ever-changing landscape, we find the essence of Emperor Norton I's enduring legacy, a testament to the boundless potential of human imagination and the limitless possibilities that are. The reign of Emperor Norton I may have been short-lived, but its impact on San Francisco, and by extension America itself, continues to be felt today. In our next segment, we'll explore some of the most intriguing ways in which his legacy has influenced literature, art, politics, and social movements over the years. But first, let us pause for a moment to reflect on the sheer audacity of this extraordinary figure. Who was Emperor Norton I, really? And what secrets lay hidden beneath the surface of his outlandish and imperial pretensions? As we navigate the twists and turns of this fascinating story, one thing becomes increasingly clear. The world of Emperor Norton is a place where fantasy and reality blur, a realm in which anything seems possible, and the boundaries between. In that spirit, let us proceed to the next chapter in our exploration of this captivating tale. As we delve deeper into the life and reign of Emperor Norton I, it becomes increasingly difficult to separate fact from fiction, reality from fantasy. This is not surprising, given the emperor's own propensity for reinvention and his tendency to blur the lines between public figure and private individual. Born Joshua Abraham Norton in 1819, Emperor Norton was a successful businessman who made his fortune in the San Francisco wholesale grocery trade during the 1850s. He was known for his sharp business acumen and his willingness to take risks, characteristics that served him well as he built his vast empire of grain warehouses, mercantile ventures, and other commercial interests. But it was not just his business acumen that set Norton apart. He was also a man of vision and ambition, with a keen sense of the city's potential for growth and development. As San Francisco boomed in the 1860s, Norton became increasingly frustrated with the city's politics and governance, which he saw as corrupt and ineffective. It was in this context that Norton's imperial persona began to take shape. In 1859, following a series of bitter disputes with fellow businessmen over control of the grain market, Norton suddenly declared himself Emperor of the United States, and shortly thereafter, Emperor of Mexico. He claimed dominion over all of North America, declaring that he would henceforth be known as Norton I, Emperor. The reaction to Norton's declaration was mixed. Some saw it as a ridiculous publicity stunt, while others viewed it as a legitimate attempt to shake up the city's stagnant politics. As word of his imperial ambition spread, Norton began to issue decrees and proclamations, many of which were wildly impractical or even absurd. And yet, despite their outlandishness, these decrees seemed to capture something essential about the spirit of San Francisco in the 1860s. At a time when the city was struggling with rapid growth and social change, Norton's imperial declarations offered a vision of possibility and potential that resonated deeply with many residents. In our next segment, we'll examine some of the key themes and motifs that are from Emperor Norton's reign, including his innovative approach to governance, his passionate advocacy for infrastructure development, but first, let us take a closer look at one of the most fascinating aspects of Norton's imperial persona: his use of language and symbolism. Norton was a master wordsmith, able to conjure up elaborate scenarios and linguistic constructs with ease. His decrees are full of poetic language and dramatic flourishes, reflecting a deep engagement with the world of high literature and classical mythology. As we explore the nuances of Norton's linguistic style, we begin to see his imperial declarations were not just random gestures, but rather carefully crafted statements that reveal as much about his own personality. As we continue our journey into the world of Emperor Norton I, one thing becomes increasingly clear. This was a man who lived by his wits and who used language as a primary tool for shaping reality. It is through an examination of his words and actions that we can gain a deeper understanding of the complex forces at play in 19th century San Francisco, and how Norton's legacy continues to... Welcome to Forgotten History Daily, where we delve into the hidden corners of the past to uncover the stories that shaped our world. Today, we're about to embark on a most intriguing journey, one that will take us to the foggy streets of San Francisco in the mid-19th century, and introduce you to a man who would change the fabric of the city forever. It was 1859, a time when San Francisco was booming, its economy growing at an unprecedented rate. The gold rush had brought a wave of fortune seekers to the West Coast, transforming the sleepy town into a vibrant metropolis overnight. With this growth came the challenges of rapid urbanization, overcrowding, corruption, and social unrest. It's in this cauldron of chaos that our protagonist emerges. Imagine strolling through the bustling streets of San Francisco's financial district, Market Street, perhaps, or Montgomery, on a sunny day in September 1859. The sound of horse-drawn carriages and pedestrians fills the air as you pass by grandiose buildings with ornate facades. Amidst this cacophony, one man stands out from the crowd: Joshua Abraham Norton. Norton was an enigmatic figure, a mysterious entrepreneur who had made his fortune in grain trading before it all went awry. His fall from prosperity to bankruptcy is the stuff of legend. Some say he was swindled by his business partners. Some say he was swindled by his business partners. Some say he was swindled by his business partners. Others claim he made reckless investment decisions. Whatever the reason, one thing is certain. Norton's financial empire crumbled around him. It's here that our narrative begins to take a most unexpected turn. One that will shake the very foundations of San Francisco's power structures. On September 17, 1859, Joshua Abraham Norton suddenly declared himself Emperor of these United States. And shortly thereafter, Emperor of Mexico. Yes, you heard that right. One moment, he was a bankrupt grain trader. The next, he was an imperial monarch with dominion over all of North America. What drove Norton to this extraordinary gesture? Was it a desperate attempt to salvage his reputation? Or perhaps a shrewd move to distract from his financial woes? As we explore this story further, we'll uncover a complex web of motivations that will leave you questioning the very notion of power and authority in 19th century America. The city's residents were both amazed and perplexed by Norton's declaration. Some saw it as a farcical publicity stunt. Others genuinely believed he was about to shake up the status quo. As news of his imperial ambitions spread, Norton began issuing decrees and proclamations, some practical, others wildly impractical or even absurd. Consider the reaction of George Waring, a prominent San Francisco businessman who had a history with Norton. Waring's son would later recall, "My father was skeptical, to say the least. This is nothing but a silly fantasy." But there was something unsettling about it all. This sudden elevation to imperial status seemed almost plausible. As we delve deeper into Norton's story, you'll begin to grasp the intricate dynamics. You'll meet influential figures like James Lick, the reclusive millionaire who would build a legendary astronomical observatory; Samuel Brannan, the pioneer merchant whose newspaper empire was threatened by Norton's. Their interactions, or rather misadventures, with our enigmatic emperor form a fascinating tapestry of power struggles, intrigue, and, ultimately, a transformation of San Francisco. So join me on this journey into the world of Emperor Norton I, as we unravel the threads that bind this extraordinary tale to its very core. We'll soon find ourselves within the midst of a veritable circus, full of eccentrics, manipulators, and dreamers. As you immerse yourself in the story, remember that this was no scripted drama, but an unfolding saga that shapes not only the city's politics, but also the lives of those who lived through it. And so, let us step back into history's tapestry as we weave a rich narrative around Joshua Abraham Norton, the man who dared to be emperor. His journey will lead you on a wild ride through 19th century San Francisco, where you'll encounter colorful characters, shocking scandals, and the ever-present quest for power. Let us continue our exploration of this forgotten chapter in American history. As Emperor Norton's influence continued to grow, he began to assert his authority over various aspects of San Francisco life. He decreed that the city's public parks should be renamed after notable figures from European royalty, a move that was both quixotic and baffling to outsiders. However, it was also seen as a shrewd move by some, who recognized the power of Norton's imperial persona to bring attention and resources to these neglected green spaces. One such park enthusiast was James Lick, the aforementioned reclusive millionaire. Despite his initial skepticism towards Norton's claims, Lick became an admirer of the emperor's vision for San Francisco's public spaces. In 1867, Norton issued a decree establishing Lick Park on a parcel of land in the city's Mission District. The park was designed by the famous landscape architect William Hammond Hall and quickly became one of the most popular destinations in the city. Meanwhile, Samuel Brannan, the pioneer merchant and newspaper mogul, grew increasingly wary of Norton's rise to prominence. As editor of the San Francisco Bulletin, Brannan had initially dismissed Norton's imperial ambitions as a joke. but soon realized that the emperor's influence was spreading far beyond the realm of humor. Brannan's newspaper empire, which included several other publications in the city, began to take on a more critical tone towards Norton's decrees and proclamations. However, not all of San Francisco's elite were opposed to Norton's reign. Some saw him as a force for good, a symbol of the city's unique spirit and resilience. William Ralston, the wealthy businessman who had made his fortune in banking and real estate, was one such supporter. Ralston saw Norton as a kindred spirit, an outsider who had managed to create a new sense of order and purpose in the chaotic city. As tensions between Norton's supporters and detractors reached a boiling point, a series of absurd and fantastical events began to unfold. In 1868, Norton decreed that he would be attending the annual San Francisco Flower Parade, an event that celebrated the arrival of spring in the city. However, when the day of the parade arrived, Norton failed to appear, only to reveal himself later that evening at a high society dinner party, dressed in full imperial regalia and brandishing a sword. The incident sent shockwaves through the city's social circles, with some hailing Norton as a genius for his cunning maneuver. Others saw it as another example of his erratic behavior, proof that he was an unfit ruler. As we continue to explore this extraordinary tale, you'll witness firsthand how Emperor Norton navigated these complex webs of power and intrigue, often blurring the lines between reality and fantasy. In the next installment, we'll delve into the world of San Francisco's most influential socialites, where heist games of politics and deception were being played out in secret salons and private clubs. We'll meet the enigmatic figure of Adolph Sutro, a wealthy entrepreneur with ties to both Norton and Brannan, who would play a crucial role in shaping the course of events in San Francisco's imperial drama. As we delve deeper into this labyrinth world, one thing becomes clear. Emperor Norton I was no mere charlatan or madman, but a master puppeteer, expertly manipulating the strings of power to create. As we delve deeper into the enigmatic world of Emperor Norton I, a new player emerges on the scene. His name is Adolph Sutro, a wealthy entrepreneur with ties to both Norton and Brannan. Born in 1829 in Germany, Sutro had made his fortune in real estate and mining before setting his sights on San Francisco's high society. In 1868, Sutro was invited to join the exclusive Pacific Club, a private gathering of the city's elite, where politics and business were discussed in hushed tones. It was there that he met Norton, who had recently decreed himself Emperor of the United States and Protector of Mexico. The two quickly struck up a rapport, bonding over their shared vision for San Francisco's future. But not everyone at the Pacific Club was pleased with Sutro's association with Norton. Some members saw him as a traitor to the city's interests, using his wealth and influence to further the emperor's own agenda. As tensions rose, Sutro found himself caught in the middle of a brewing storm. "I will not be swayed by petty politics," Norton declared at one meeting, his voice booming through the club's grand halls. "I am the rightful ruler of this great city, and I will not be ignored." The room fell silent as Sutro watched, his eyes darting between Norton and Brannan, who had been quietly sipping his tea in the corner. "What does it mean exactly?" a young member asked, breaking the silence. "Is the Emperor declaring war on us?" Norton's gaze narrowed. "War is not necessary," he said with a wave of his hand. "I merely wish to remind you all that I am the supreme authority in this city. You would do well to remember it." The incident sparked a heated debate among the club members, with some calling for Sutro's ouster and others defending him against Brannan's allegations. Meanwhile, rumors began to circulate about Norton's true intentions. Was he seeking to overthrow the government of California? Some whispered that he was secretly meeting with agents from Mexico, forging a plan to establish himself as a puppet ruler in the West. I'm not sure what's more astonishing. A San Francisco Bulletin columnist wrote on April 10, 1868, The emperor's brazen declarations, or the willingness of some citizens to swallow his fantasy hook, line and sinker. As Sutro watched, he knew that one wrong move could spell disaster for him and for Norton. But what choice did he have? The emperor had made it clear loyalty was not optional. And yet, Sutro couldn't shake the feeling that something was amiss, that beneath all the grandiose language and decrees lay a web of deceit and hidden agendas. As we explore this tangled world further, we find ourselves at a crossroads. Will Sutro be drawn into Norton's orbit, or will he resist the emperor's pull? And what of Brannan's Sioux Slurians? Are they grounded in fact, or mere paranoia? One thing is certain: San Francisco is on the brink of chaos. On May 1st, 1868, a large crowd gathered outside City Hall to protest Norton's increasing influence. Chanting slogans and brandishing signs, the demonstrators demanded that the city council take action against the self-proclaimed emperor. "I will not be intimidated," Norton declared from his throne-like chair in City Hall's Grand Hall. "I am the rightful ruler of this city, and I will not be threatened by the likes of you." The crowd jeered and catcalled as Sutro watched from a safe distance, his mind racing with the implications. "This is it," he whispered to himself. "The emperor has pushed too far." But what could he do? The stakes were high, and one misstep would mean disaster for all involved. As we continue this extraordinary tale, we find ourselves at a critical juncture. Will Norton's power be checked, or will he emerge victorious in his bid to rule San Francisco? We'll meet new characters and witness fresh alliances form as the battle for control of the city reaches its boiling point. Stay with us, dear listeners, as we journey deeper into the heart of this wild and untamed metropolis. And on May 15th, 1868, a shocking revelation shook the city to its core. Gunn, a prominent businessman and city hall aide, was caught embezzling funds meant for public works projects. "It's a scandal," Brannan declared in his San Francisco Bulletin editorial. "A clear case of corruption and malfeasance at the highest levels." But what did it have to do with Norton? That question would soon be answered as Sutro found himself pulled into a secret meeting with the emperor himself. I know, Norton said, waving his hand dismissively. Gunn's actions were deplorable. "But you see, Adolf, this is merely a minor setback in our grand plan for San Francisco." Sutro listened intently as Norton outlined his vision, a future where the city would flourish under his benevolent rule. "But at what cost?" Sutro asked quietly, a note of skepticism creeping into his voice. "Ah," Norton smiled. "The cost is nothing compared to the glory that awaits us, my friend." As the meeting concluded, Sutro couldn't shake off the feeling that he was walking a thin line between loyalty and deceit. And on June 1st, 1868, a dramatic confrontation took place in City Hall's Grand Hall. Norton, flanked by his loyal guards, faced off against Brannan, who had accused him of orchestrating Gunn's embezzlement. "This is outrageous," Brannan thundered, his face red with rage. "You will pay for your treachery, Emperor." But as the two men locked eyes, something unexpected happened. Norton smiled and began to laugh. "You see, he chuckled, "I have always been one step ahead of you. You may think me a fool, but I assure you, I am merely biding my time." As Brannan's jaw dropped in shock, Norton turned to Sutro, who watched the exchange with growing unease. "Tell him, Adolf," Norton whispered. "Tell him that we will not be swayed by petty politics." But as Sutro opened his mouth to speak, he was interrupted by a sudden commotion outside City Hall. It was May 10th, 1869, and the very fabric of San Francisco society seemed on the verge of unraveling. In this whirlwind of intrigue and deception, one thing is certain: only those with the sharpest wits and greatest cunning will survive. The commotion outside City Hall was caused by a group of angry citizens who had gathered to protest Norton's latest decree. The emperor, known for his eccentricities, had declared that all San Francisco residents must pay a small tax to fund the construction of a grand statue in his honor. The protesters, led by none other than Brannan, were determined to put an end to what they saw as Norton's blatant abuse of power. As Sutro watched the scene unfold, he couldn't help but wonder how Norton managed to maintain such a tight grip on the city. Despite his obvious eccentricities and questionable policies, the Emperor seemed to have a remarkable ability to stay one step ahead of his peers. But just as it seemed like the protesters were about to storm City Hall, Norton appeared at the window, a majestic figure in his imperial finery. He raised his hand, and the crowd silent. "My dear subjects," he began, his voice booming through the halls, "I understand that my latest decree has caused some consternation among certain elements of our society." The protesters began to murmur among themselves, clearly unaware of what was about to unfold. Norton smiled mischievously as he continued to speak. "However, I must inform you all that this tax is not simply a means of enriching myself, but rather a wise investment in the future of our great city. The statue will serve as a beacon of hope and prosperity for generations to come." Sutro watched in amazement as Norton's words seemed to have a strange effect on the protesters. They began to nod in agreement, their anger slowly dissipating. Brunner, however, looked like he was about to explode. "It's all just a ruse," Sutro whispered to one of his colleagues, a fellow politician who had grown tired of Norton's antics. "He's manipulating them again." But as the days passed, it became clear that Norton's words had indeed struck a chord with the people of San Francisco. The tax was collected, and work began on the statue in earnest. It was a grand monument, depicting Norton in all his imperial glory. As Sutro watched the statue take shape, he couldn't help but feel a twinge of admiration for the Emperor's cunning. Despite his many flaws, Norton seemed to have an uncanny ability to tap into the hopes and desires of those around him. But not everyone shared Sutro's ambivalence towards Norton. There were those who saw the Emperor as nothing more than a charlatan, a man who had managed to fool the people of San Francisco with his empty promises and grandiose schemes. Among them was a young journalist named Henry Allen, who had made it his mission to expose Norton's true nature. Allen was determined to show that behind the Emperor's imperial facade lay nothing but deception and corruption. As Sutro watched Allen begin to gather evidence of Norton's wrongdoing, he couldn't help but wonder if the young journalist would ultimately lead in bringing the Emperor down from his pedestal. The San Francisco itself seemed to hang in the balance, as the battle for control of the city entered its final act. As the years went by, Emperor Norton I continued to rule over San Francisco with an iron fist, or rather, benevolent but firm hand. His eccentricities only grew more pronounced, but his charisma and ability to connect with the people of San Francisco remained unmatched. He would often hold court on the steps of City Hall, dispensing advice and blessings to those who came seeking it. But beneath the surface, Norton's empire built on a foundation of questionable financial dealings. He had amassed a small fortune through a series of clever investments and shrewd business deals, but many suspected that he was also involved in more unsavory activities. The city's newspapers were filled with allegations of corruption and deceit, but Norton seemed to always stay one step ahead. One of the most shocking aspects of Norton's reign was his involvement in the development of the city's infrastructure. He had a vision for a grand transportation system, with streetcars and cable cars crisscrossing the city. But instead of investing public funds in the project, he used his own money to finance it, selling bonds to investors at exorbitant interest rates. This move was seen as a clear conflict of interest by many, including Henry Allen, the young journalist who had been investigating Norton's activities. Allen discovered that Norton stood to gain millions from the project, and that the city itself would be left with massive debts for generations to come. As the city's finance began to falter, Allen's exposés started to gain traction. He wrote a series of scathing articles, detailing Norton's shady dealings and questioning his true motives. But despite the mounting evidence against him, Norton remained untouched. In fact, he seems to be getting more powerful by the day. He had created an entire imperial court, complete with nobles and advisors who were sworn to secrecy about his inner workings. His decrees were treated as law, and anyone who dared to question them risked facing the wrath of the emperor himself. The people of San Francisco were torn between their admiration for Norton's grand vision and their outrage at his corruption. As one resident put it, "He's like a bad penny, keeps turning up, no matter how many times we try to send him packing." Despite the controversy surrounding him, Norton continued to rule with an iron fist. He used his power to silence his critics, silencing those who dared to speak out against him, and buying off our generous favors. It's worth noting that Norton's activities were not without modern parallels. In recent years, there have been numerous high-profile cases of corruption and abuse of power in local governments across the United States. The question remains, how far would we allow someone like Norton to go before taking action? One thing is certain, Norton's impact on San Francisco was felt for generations to come. His grand transportation system, although initially private-funded, eventually became a publicly owned asset, shaping the city into what it is today. In 1880, Emperor Norton I decreed that the Bay Bridge would be built across the bay, connecting San Francisco with Oakland. It's worth noting that this was an incredible feat of engineering for its time and was completed in just 2 years. The bridge was privately funded by Norton himself and took a huge toll on his finances. As we know today, Norton died on January 8, 1880, but not before he left behind a lasting legacy. He had single-handedly changed the face of San Francisco and forever altered its history. Despite all the controversy surrounding him, his impact cannot be denied. Many argue that Norton's eccentricities were just a symptom of something deeper, a desperate desire for power and control. Some have even suggested that he was not entirely sane, a conclusion that is reinforced by numerous accounts from those who knew him. In fact, during his reign, Norton issued over 20 decrees on various matters, including currency reform and foreign policy. Despite the many criticisms of his actions, it's clear that Emperor Norton I left an indelible mark on San Francisco, a city that to this day celebrates its unique history. Despite all that we know about him, Norton remains an enigmatic figure. His motivations for creating an entire empire from scratch are still shrouded in mystery, leaving many to speculate about the true nature of his reign. Was he a brilliant leader who was misunderstood by his contemporaries? Or was he simply a charismatic con artist who played on the sympathies of the people? One thing is certain, Emperor Norton I's story serves as a fascinating reminder that even in the most unlikely of circumstances, individuals can shape history in profound and lasting ways. As we delve deeper into the life of Emperor Norton I, it becomes clear that his story is not just one of eccentricity and power plays, but also of tragedy and hardship. Born Joshua Abraham Norton on April 4, 1819, in London, England, he was a man who would face more than his fair share of struggles throughout his life. At the age of 17, Norton arrived in San Francisco during the California Gold Rush, with dreams of striking it rich. However, his luck didn't quite pan out as he had hoped. He made several attempts to establish himself in the city, but struggled to make a name for himself. Despite his efforts, he was eventually forced into bankruptcy and found himself living on the streets. It wasn't until 1859 that Norton's life took a dramatic turn. He attempted to corner the market on rice, a decision that ultimately led to him being sued by several prominent San Francisco businessmen. The ensuing lawsuit left him financially ruined, and in a desperate bid to reclaim his dignity, he made the bold move of declaring himself Emperor of these United States. At first, Norton's claims were met with ridicule and scorn. Many saw him as nothing more than a crackpot, and his decrees were largely ignored by the people of San Francisco. However, over time, something began to happen. People started to take notice of this eccentric figure who claimed to be an emperor. As word of Norton's antics spread, a mixture of fascination and amusement drew the public in. They would gather around him as he held court on the streets, listening intently as he issued his decrees and made pronouncements about the state of the city. It was almost as if they were watching a performance, with Norton playing the role of monarch to perfection. But what drove this man to create an entire empire from scratch? Was it truly a desire for power, or was there something more at play? One account suggests that Norton was motivated by a deep sense of disillusionment with the society he lived in. He had seen firsthand the exploitation and corruption that plagued San Francisco's business elite, and perhaps saw his declaration as an act of rebellion against the establishment. Whatever his motivations may have been, it's clear that Emperor Norton I tapped into something fundamental about human nature: our desire for spectacle, drama, and connection to a larger-than-life figure. This story speaks to us today because it reminds us that even in the most mundane of lives, there lies the potential for greatness. As we look at Norton's legacy, we see a city that was forever changed by his presence. He single-handedly brought attention to San Francisco as a hub of eccentricity and innovation, paving the way for future generations of free spirits and nonconformists who would make their mark on the city. But what happened to the man himself? As Norton's popularity continued to grow, so did his influence over the city. He became a beloved figure, with many regarding him as a benevolent leader. His decrees were not always taken seriously, but they added to the sense of whimsy and fun that permeated San Francisco during this period. Despite all the accolades he received, Norton's personal life remained shrouded in mystery. Few knew much about his family or his relationships with others. But what is clear is that his later years were marked by a growing sense of isolation and loneliness. In his final months, Emperor Norton I retreated from public view, living out the remainder of his days in quiet obscurity. It's as if he realized too late that his dream had become a fantasy, a fleeting moment of grandeur in an otherwise ordinary life. As the years went by, Emperor Norton I's legend continued to grow, even as himself faded from public view. The people of San Francisco still remembered him fondly, and his decrees, though no longer taken seriously, remained a beloved part of their city's folklore. However, behind the scenes, Norton's personal life was unraveling. His health began to decline, and he became increasingly reclusive. By 1891, Norton's mental faculties were starting to wane, and he suffered a series of strokes that left him bedridden. Despite his physical limitations, his spirit remained unbroken, and he continued to issue decrees, albeit in a more haphazard manner. One notable example is a decree issued on November 26th of that year, which granted the city's cable car operators an increase in wages. In a strange twist, even in death, Norton's legend would continue to thrive. On January 8, 1880, Emperor Norton I had passed away, surrounded by his loyal subjects who had gathered at his bedside. His funeral procession through San Francisco was attended by thousands, and he was eulogized as a benevolent leader who had brought joy and whimsy to the city. However, as the years went by, it became clear that Norton's legacy was not without controversy. While some hail him as a visionary, others saw him as a charlatan who had duped the public into accepting his ridiculous claims. The debate surrounding his character continues to this day, with some arguing that he was simply a shrewd businessman who had managed to tap into the city's collective imagination. Despite these criticisms, it is undeniable that Emperor Norton I left an indelible mark on San Francisco. He single-handedly transformed the city from a rough-and-tumble frontier town into a hub of eccentricity and innovation. His influence can still be seen in the city's architecture, with many buildings bearing his name or feature elaborate facades inspired by his decrees. But what about the long-term consequences of Norton's acts? Did his self-proclaimed status as emperor have any real-world impact on the city? The answer is a resounding yes. His policies, though often whimsical, did help to improve working conditions for San Francisco's laborers and contributed to the development of the city's unique cultural identity. One notable example is Norton's decree establishing the Nortonian Day Off, a paid holiday given to all workers on the first Monday in June. This practice was continued long after his death, becoming an integral part of San Francisco's working-class culture. Similarly, his emphasis on civic beautification and public art helped shape the city's visual landscape. As we reflect on Emperor Norton I's story, it is clear that there are still many unanswered questions surrounding his life. What drove him to create an empire from scratch? Was he truly motivated by a desire for power, or was it something more profound? Some argue that he was driven by a deep sense of disillusionment with the society around him, a feeling shared by many who were drawn to his message. Whatever his motivations may have been, it is undeniable that Norton tapped into something fundamental about human nature. His story speaks to our desire for spectacle, drama, and connection to a larger-than-life figure. In an era marked by social unrest and economic inequality, Emperor Norton I's legacy serves as a poignant reminder of the power of imagination and creativity. But what does his story teach us today? How can we apply the lessons learned from his life to our own experiences? One practical lesson is the importance of self-awareness in times of financial hardship. As seen with Norton's ill-fated attempt to corner the market on rice, it is all too easy to fall into debt and lose control. The key takeaway here is that it's essential to stay vigilant and keep a watchful eye on our finances, lest we find ourselves trapped in a cycle of debt and financial instability. By being mindful of our spending habits and taking proactive steps to manage our finances, we can avoid the pitfalls that led Norton down the path to ruin. Another valuable lesson from Emperor Norton I's story is the importance of trust in relationships. As seen with his mysterious personal life, Norton's inability to form meaningful connections with others ultimately left him isolated and alone. In today's fast-paced world, it's easy to get caught up in our busy schedules and neglect the people around us. However, as Norton I's story so starkly illustrates, trust is a fundamental building block of any successful relationship. By cultivating empathy, being open-minded, and practicing active listening, we can build stronger connections with others and avoid the pitfalls of isolation. A third lesson from Norton's life is the need for critical thinking in the face of grandiose claims. As seen with his self-proclaimed status as emperor, it's all too easy to get caught up in a charismatic figure's vision without stopping to question their motives or methods. By being cautious and discerning, we can avoid falling prey to scams or get-rich-quick schemes that promise the world but deliver little more than disappointment. By staying vigilant and critically evaluating information, we can build resilience and protect ourselves from those who would seek to take advantage of us. Lastly, Emperor Norton I's story serves as a poignant reminder of the power of government in our lives. As seen with his decrees and policies, even the most seemingly trivial actions can have real-world consequences. In today's complex world, it's easy to get caught up in partisan politics or lose sight of the bigger picture. However, as Emperor Norton I's legacy so starkly illustrates, even the smallest action can make a significant impact when taken collectively by a community. By engaging with our local government and participating in civic activities, we can build stronger communities and create positive change from the ground up. By staying informed and advocating for causes that matter to us, we can hold those in power accountable and ensure that our voices are heard. In conclusion, Emperor Norton I's story serves as a testament to the human spirit's capacity for imagination and creativity. As we reflect on his life and legacy, it is clear that there are many valuable lessons to be learned from his experiences. By being mindful of our finances, cultivating trust in relationships, critically evaluating information, engaging with our government, and advocating for causes that matter to us, we can build stronger connections. As Emperor Norton I's story so eloquently reminds us, even in the most mundane of lives lies the potential for greatness, a message that resonates just as strongly today as it did during his own lifetime. But what was Emperor Norton I like in real life? What drove this eccentric individual to declare himself emperor and govern San Francisco with such fervor? To answer these questions, we must delve into the early life of Joshua Abraham Norton, the man who would eventually become Emperor Norton I. Born in 1819 in London, England, Joshua Norton was a young boy when his family immigrated to South Africa. After living there for several years, they moved to Brazil and later to California during the Gold Rush era. It was in San Francisco that Joshua met Mary Ann Leslie, and the two were married in 1841. However, their marriage was short-lived, as Mary Ann passed away just a year later. Following his wife's death, Joshua returned to England to settle his estate, but he soon found himself at odds with his family members over inheritances and other matters. Feeling betrayed by those who had been supposed to support him, Norton became increasingly disillusioned with the English establishment. In 1849, he made the bold decision to leave England for good and return to California. Back in San Francisco, Joshua settled into a quiet life as a merchant and businessman. He invested heavily in real estate and trade, but his ventures were often unsuccessful. Despite this, Norton continued to strive for success, eventually becoming a prominent figure in the city's social scene. However, it was during these early years that he began to develop the eccentricities and grandiose visions that would later define him as Emperor Norton I. One of the most intriguing aspects of Joshua Norton's life is his relationship with Mary Ellen Whitton, a young woman who would become his closest confidant. Some historians believe that Mary Ellen was the love of Joshua's life, and that he married her in secret after Mary Ann's passing. Whatever the truth may be, their partnership was one that endured for many years and provided Norton with emotional support during some of the most tumultuous periods of his life. As we continue to explore Emperor Norton I's story, it becomes clear that his early life experiences had a profound impact on shaping his personality and worldview.
From his troubled family history to his romantic relationships, Joshua Norton's complexities began to emerge as he navigated the challenges of 19th century San Francisco.
But what about his decision to declare himself emperor? What drove this enigmatic individual to take such an extraordinary step? The answer lies in a combination of factors: financial ruin, personal heartache, and an insatiable desire for recognition and respect. In 1859, Joshua Norton made the bold move to declare himself Emperor of these United States. This pronouncement sent shockwaves throughout San Francisco, with some viewing him as a crackpot, while others saw an opportunity for ignorance and intrigue. Emperor Norton I's reign would go on to last for over 2 decades, during which time he issued numerous decrees and policies that were often as absurd as they were amusing. Some of his most notable initiatives included creating a municipal streetcar system, establishing a postal service in the city, and even attempting to annex parts of Mexico and Canada. Despite the initial ridicule and skepticism, Emperor Norton I's antics eventually earned him widespread recognition and admiration within San Francisco society. People from all walks of life would gather at his doorstep, eager to hear his latest pronouncements or seek favors from the self-proclaimed ruler. This unlikely phenomenon serves as a testament to the human desire for excitement, adventure, and connection, qualities that Joshua Norton embodied with unbridled enthusiasm. As we move forward in Emperor Norton I's story, it becomes increasingly clear that this enigmatic figure had a profound impact on San Francisco during his time. Love him or loathe him, he represented something unique. an embodiment of the human spirit's capacity for resilience and imagination. His legacy would continue to inspire generations of San Franciscans long after his passing in 1880. As we come to the close of Emperor Norton I's extraordinary tale, it is clear that this self-proclaimed ruler left an indelible mark on the city he loved. His journey from a humble merchant to a revered figure in San Francisco society serves as a poignant reminder that even in the face of adversity and personal turmoil, one can find a sense of purpose and meaning. The key lesson from Emperor Norton's story is this: it is not our circumstances that define us, but rather how we choose to respond to them. Joshua Norton could have easily succumbed to financial ruin and heartache, but instead, he channeled his energies into creating something new, something extraordinary. As we reflect on the remarkable reign of Emperor Norton I, a question arises: what is it about this story that resonates with us? Is it the sheer audacity of Joshua Norton's claim to imperial power? Or perhaps the way in which he brought people together through his whimsical decrees and policies? Whatever the reason, one thing is certain: the legacy of Emperor Norton I lives on. And as we bid farewell to this unforgettable character, we are reminded that even in our lives, we have the capacity to create, to innovate, and to bring about positive change. If you know someone who has faced adversity but refuses to give up, share their story with them. Share the tale of Emperor Norton I and watch as they find inspiration in his unwavering determination and creativity. If this story opened your eyes to the power of imagination and resilience, then we invite you to join us each week on Forgotten History Daily. Every episode uncovers new stories that will challenge your perspectives and ignite your curiosity. Until next time, stay curious, stay informed, and never stop asking questions. The past may be forgotten, but with our help, it can be rediscovered. If this story opened your eyes, subscribe to Forgotten History Daily. Every week we uncover the stories they don't want you to know. Until next time, stay curious, stay informed, and never stop asking questions. The documentary narration continues. As we've seen, Emperor Norton I's remarkable reign was marked by a series of eccentric decrees and proclamations that brought joy and laughter to the people of San Francisco. But what about the man behind the monarch? Who was Joshua Norton, really? Born in 1819 in England, Norton came from a family of modest means. His early life was spent working as a merchant's clerk, but he had bigger aspirations. In his early 20s, Norton moved to South Africa, where he worked on a ship and eventually became a successful businessman. However, it wasn't until he arrived in San Francisco in the late 1840s that Norton's life took a dramatic turn. He made a fortune speculating on gold stocks during the California gold rush, but his luck soon out. A series of bad investments left him bankrupt, and he was forced to declare himself insolvent. It was this moment of financial ruin that marked the beginning of Joshua Norton's transformation into Emperor Norton I. In 1859, at the age of 40, Norton wrote a letter to the San Francisco Bulletin announcing his own death, declaring that he had risen from the dead and was now an emperor. The letter read, "By the President and a Congress of the same, we do ordain and establish a new species of coin as a standard unit of value, to be called the Norton." This tongue-in-cheek proclamation was not just a joke. By claiming to have risen from the dead, he managed to poke fun at the notion of death itself and created a stir among the city's residents. The people of San Francisco were both amused and intrigued by this eccentric newcomer. They began to call him emperor and started to treat him like royalty. Norton was thrilled. He had never felt so alive, so relevant. Over the next several years, Emperor Norton I issued numerous decrees on everything from street repairs to transportation systems. His proclamations were often humorous, but also practical. reflecting his own experiences as a businessman and merchant. One of his most famous edicts declared, "The ferry between San Francisco and Oakland shall be full passengers." This not only brought joy to the people, but also reflected Norton's own concerns about accessibility. Despite his grandiose claims to imperial power, Emperor Norton I remained humble. He continued to live in a small boarding house near the waterfront and spent most of his days socializing with friends and associates. The city's residents adored him. They saw him as a symbol of hope and resilience. And as we reflect on his story, it becomes clear that Joshua Norton I was more than just a self-proclaimed emperor. He was a testament to the human spirit's capacity for creativity and adaptability. But Emperor Norton I's reign was not without its challenges. The city's politicians and businessmen were often at odds with him, questioning his authority and legitimacy. They saw him as an eccentric fool who had no business making decisions about public policy. Yet, despite these setbacks, Emperor Norton I remained undeterred. He continued to issue decrees and proclamations, earning the affection and respect of the people. And when he finally passed away in 1880, at the age of 61, the city came together to mourn his loss. As we explore more stories like this on Forgotten History Daily, we are reminded that even the most unlikely individuals can leave a lasting legacy. Emperor Norton I may have been an emperor without an empire, but he still managed to shape the course of history in San Francisco and inspire countless others with his boundless imagination and determination.